Bradshaw from Cruiser Customizing.
Gregory Beck with WWGe Distributing.
On this week's Wednesday with Greg, we're talking about bleeding the brakes on your motorcycle. Now, typically, this is one of those daunting jobs that nobody likes to do, but there are a couple tools, be it from your kitchen cabinet or from the auto parts store, that's going to make this job much simpler.
Yeah, this job, it can be easy and it can be difficult depending on how much you know about bleeding brakes and the tools you use.
So just last week, Chris and I were bleeding the brakes on the front of his Road King, and we came into a little bit of a snag. We found a leak in a place that's not normally supposed to leak. That is where the threads connect the nipple into the caliper. So we're going to have to replace that piece, and then finishing this job should be pretty simple.
Actually, there is no place on the brake system that should leak.
So the couple of tools that we have here are essentially a vacuum unit, whether it's pushing fluid through or sucking fluid out. This is a great way to bleed your brakes.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time and less mess. And mess with brake fluid is not good. If you're using .34, it'll literally take the paint off your bike. If you're using .5, which we're using on this antique Harley, not so bad. But you have to be, you know, don't get messy.
Different methods are you open up your reservoir here on the top, you fill it with fluid, and then you use the vacuum to pull that fluid all the way through the lines until it fills the reservoir here on the other side.
Pay attention. When you fill in the master cylinder, be careful. A lot of them have a rubber diaphragm that goes on top. If you fill it completely full, when you push that rubber diaphragm down, mess. It's going to overflow. Pay attention. Sometimes there's a line in there. Sometimes simply by undoing these and leveling out the master cylinder will let you put more in without it spilling and without the diaphragm overflowing.
The second method of bleeding your brakes is to go ahead and leave that completely empty. Start down at your caliper. And what you're then going to do is going to take the fluid that's in this jar and push this into the caliper, up the line, and fill the reservoir from the bottom up.
Yeah, sometimes, depending on the bike, that is a better way to go. Depends on the bike.
On my VTX at home, before I got one of these fancy doohickeys over here, we used just a simple bottle with a nipple at the top and a hose. You fill this with your fluid, plug this into your caliper down here at the bottom. Once again, push that fluid. Now, the pressure you need to apply to this bottle in order to get the fluid to the top is pretty great. The vacuum itself sucks right around 10 to 15 psi, depending on the application.
Understanding what you're doing and how to do it properly goes a long ways towards bleeding the brakes. It can be a long, slow process, and don't be in a hurry.
One thing I really want to stress at this moment in time is the type of fluid you're going to put into your motorcycle. Now, over the years, we've had .3, .4, .5, .5.1. Some of them, it's an absolute no-no to mix. You do not want to mix the different types of brake fluids that are out there.
Yeah, the reason .5 was invented is because the boiling point on .4 was too low for performance racers, really. And .5 was a silicone brake fluid, raised the boiling point dramatically.
So this here is just a general overview or tip on bleeding your brakes, but make sure you check your shop manual, which we talked about last week. Your shop manual will tell you the proper type of fluid that your motorcycle takes and the proper procedure that they recommend in order to do the job correctly.
Yeah, and pay attention. Harleys, they go back and forth. On the older ones you use .34, then you use .5, and newer ones 3.4. Make sure you got the right year.
There you go. Thank you for watching this week's Wednesday with Greg.
And ride safe. Do you know when .5 was invented?
I don't know.
It was like 1970.
Antique.
Never came to the market for a long time as they were testing it. We had I worked on a Can-Am car, and we were having a problem with the brakes fading because of brake fluid boiling. And DuPont sent us this container. It was a gallon. No, 5 gallons. 5 gallons. The list, the packing slip with it, valued it at like $4,000 because it wasn't on the market. We put that in the race car, completely eliminated the brake problems.
Interesting.
Yeah.